I'm going to do some exercises involving decimals that require knowledge of the correct precedence rules. In other words, knowledge of the correct order of operations. Okay? I'll assume that you know the correct order of operations with respect to expressions involving integers and or fractions. Okay, if you don't, I would invite you to watch the necessary videos. All right, so let's continue. So the precedence rules for expressions involving decimals are the same as the precedence rules for expressions involving integers and or fractions. All right? Let's do our first example. Minus 95 times 1.6 minus 3.7 all over minus 3.6. So the precedence rules say that we first need to do the multiplication. So I'm going to multiply 9.5 by 1.6, and I'll see what I get. Okay, so 15.2. So I can make that replacement. Now, if you know that division takes a higher precedence over subtraction, if you thought that, you would be correct. Now, however, for the next step, we're actually going to have to do the difference in the numerator first. That's because when you write an expression, when you have a fraction, you have to treat the numerator and denominator as if they're contained in separate parentheses. All right, and parentheses take precedence over everything, including division. So let's let's find a negative 15.2 minus 3.7. That is negative 18.9. So we could make that substitution. All right, now we see that we have two negatives, so the answer is going to be positive. We can drop the negative signs. Also, before we do the long division, we can multiply the top and bottom by 10. So so far the expression is equal to 189 over 36. And before we do long division, let's reduce the fraction. Let's divide the top and bottom by some number. So I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 6. I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 9. So 189 divided by 9 is 21. 36 divided by 9 is 4. So 21 over 4. Now that is equal to the answer. If you needed it in decimal form, then you would have to do long division. So let's do that now. All right, so I got 5.25. I hope that made sense. Study all those steps. Make sure you understand why I did things in the order that I did. Okay, let's do another example. This time let's do one involving a power, involving an exponent. Okay, minus 12.9 minus negative 10.98 all over 0.5 squared. So the order of operations dictate that we have to do 0.5 squared first. And so let's go ahead and do that. 0.5 times 0.5. So 25, add the decimal to our answer, so 0.25. So let's make that replacement. Now, well, let's take care of the numerator next. So we are subtracting a negative number, so that's the same as adding a positive number. So let's find negative 12.9 plus 10.98. All right. That's going to be a negative number. In order to find that, let me first calculate 12.9 minus 10.98. So it'll involve a little bit of work. So I get 1.92. But so the numerator is negative 1.92. Now, before I do the long division to figure out the decimal answer, let me multiply the top and bottom by 100. So I get minus 192 over 25. And so let's now do the long division. I'll ignore the negative sign until I get my answer to the long division. So let's see. 25 goes into 192 7 times. So subtract 175, 23. Let's see. Is that correct? No. 190, 24. 27, 17. I think I did that too fast. Yeah, 17. Okay, so now drop a 0, and it goes into 170. Let's see, 6 times. So 6 times 25 is 150. 25 goes into 208 times, so 7.68. Make that a negative, so the answer is minus 7.68. All right, now I would like you to do an example. Would you please find a decimal that is equivalent to the following expression? Okay, so pause the video if you like and do that now. All right, I'll go ahead and do it as well. So first I will simplify the numerator because I'm subtracting from a positive number from a negative. That's equivalent to finding the negation of the sum of two positives. So I get minus 24.92 for the top. And in the bottom, we have to do that as well. We have to do that difference, and that will give 7, an integer. All right, so now we have to convert this to a decimal. Let's first multiply the top and bottom by 100. And now let's do the long division. So 700 goes into 2,492 how many times? And as before, I'm ignoring the negative temporarily. So let's see, it goes in 3 times. So I get 392. Now it goes into 3,925 times. And it goes into 4,206 times. All right, and there we go. So now I make that a negative decimal, and so my answer is negative 3.56. Okay, let's do one more example. All right, please find minus 14.98 minus 60 times 0.4 squared all over 17.99 minus 19.99. All right, so pause the video and try to find an equivalent decimal now, please. All right, so I'll go ahead and work this one out as well. So the first thing we have to do is simplify the power. So that'll give 0.16. You can see that by working out the multiplication explicitly. Okay. Now, we could rewrite the original expression replacing the power with 0.16, but let's try to do more than one thing at a time, okay, just to speed things up. So 0.4 squared, that's definitely 0.16. Now let's replace the denominator with the decimal that's equivalent to that difference. So 17.99 minus 19.99, that's negative 2. All right, and we have a negative denominator, and then in the numerator we have a negative number minus what will be a positive product. Okay, so we can immediately replace all the negatives and minus signs with pluses or positive signs. Okay, and so let's write down what we have so far. 14.98 plus 60 times 0.16 divided by 2. Now, if you thought that the next operation that we need to do is the product, and you did the product, you would get the correct answer. That would be the right thing to do next. Okay? Now, let me show you that there are alternative paths you can take and still get the correct answer without violating the precedence rules. Okay? It doesn't violate the precedence rules to split this fraction up into the sum of fractions. All right, you might wonder, well, why would you want to do that? Well, I don't really like to multiply by 60 and then divide by 2 right after, okay? That's when I can instead simply multiply by 30, okay? So that might be one reason you want to choose this path. And then dividing by 2, that's not the most difficult division in the world, so having to do that divide by 2 twice, maybe that's a price you're willing to pay. 14.98 divided by 2. Let me go ahead and work that out. 2 goes into 14 7 times. 2 goes into 9 4 times. 2 goes into 18 9 times, so 7.49. Okay, now at this point, I'm just throwing out ideas that you might remember to make your life easier in the future. You can also do the following without violating the precedence rules. I can divide the 30 by 10 to turn into a 3, as long as I then multiply the 0.16 by 10 to compensate. Okay? And I can also double the 3 as long as I cut the 1.6 in half. So 6 times 0.8. All right? So again, you don't have to do all these steps. I'm just showing you some things that may help you in the future. So maybe you can do 0.8 times 6 pretty quick. So that's 4.8. So now we have 7.49 plus 4.8. All right, so we can do that. 7.49 plus 4.8. Now I'm going to add a 0 to the 4.8 so that I can line up my decimals with a number in every column. So 9 and so 12.29, okay? And so the final answer is positive 12.29. Okay?